Jack Collins had always thought of himself as a pragmatic man, the kind who believed in hard work and loyalty. For over a decade, he had poured his heart into building a stable life for his family. A steady job in marketing, a nice home, two kids whom he adored. He thrived on being the provider, always putting his family's needs before his own. Perhaps that made him blind to the fracturing world around him. The cracks started small but soon accumulated into chasms. Jill, his wife, had become distant, often working late or attending social events without him. Jack brushed off his suspicions with the same tenacity he applied to his work. He was loyal. She would be too. Trusting her was part of his stability. But this illusion wouldn't last, and reality hit like a freight train one fateful evening when he received an anonymous tip. "Meet me at the old Bayview Hotel. I've got something you need to see." It was a strange message, but it was enough to gnaw at his insides. After a sleepless night, Jack found himself outside the hotel, peering through the window. What he saw shattered his world. A tan, muscular man, laughing and whispering into Jill's ear, her eyes sparkling with a joy that had long since faded from their own home. This was not a mere betrayal. This was the betrayal. Jack's body felt detached, as if he were watching a movie unfold. He couldn't let himself act impulsively. Instead, he went home, tried to sleep, and meticulously crafted a plan. The quiet agony morphed into a deeply rooted rage as he spent the next few weeks gathering evidence against her. Texts, emails, and financial statements that exposed her web of deceit. Jill had not only betrayed him with intimacy, but had also siphoned their financial resources to fund this secretive relationship. The moment of reckoning arrived during a planned dinner with friends at their home. Jack played the perfect host, his friends unaware of the storm brewing beneath his calm, manicured appearance. As dessert was served, he decided he couldn't mask his emotions any longer. Catching Jill off guard, he slid a piece of paper across the table. Everyone leaned in, curiosity piqued. It was a screenshot of a bank transaction. Jill's spending on a luxury car, complimenting the intimate dinners, her laughter echoing around the table, now felt hollow and cruel. "What's this?" she stammered, her face pale, as she realized the undeniable proof of her infidelity lay exposed before their friends. "That doesn't mean... It means you've been lying to everyone, Jill," he shouted, feeling the tempest within him take control. "You thought you could take advantage of my loyalty while you decided to play house with someone else?" His declaration pierced through the laughter and chatter. Gasps filled the room as the facade of their perfect life fell away, revealing the ugliness beneath. Jill's defensiveness morphed into anger. "You think this is about money? You're just trying to ruin me." "Ruin you?" Jack scoffed, feeling the fire ignite within him. "You did that all on your own. I just happened to be the one holding the evidence." The social fallout was immediate and brutal. Friends turned their backs on Jill. They couldn't align with a liar, a cheat. Jack ensured their financial assets were locked down. He contacted lawyers, froze accounts, and sifted through their life together with a cold precision. He discovered the true cost of Jill's betrayal, the debts she had racked up, her extravagant spending that betrayed not just their financial trust, but emotional fidelity. As the divorce proceedings loomed, Jack leaned into his new reality. He redefined what it meant to be strong, realizing that his kindness had been a weapon for Jill. She wielded his loyalty like a dagger. He transformed that anger into a relentless pursuit of justice, systematically dismantling what remained of Jill's reputation and financial security. Each court date was intense, filled with legal wrangling over finances, children, and what was left of their life together. In the quiet moments after those hearings, Jack felt elation. There was a strange satisfaction in wielding the very tools Jill had manipulated against him. The more he dismantled her life, the more he felt his own solidity grow. The laughter and whispers that once surrounded Jill now became echoes of scorn and derision, isolating her as she tried to reclaim her status among their shared circle. But it was one final confrontation that would seal Jill's fate forever. Jack orchestrated a reunion dinner with close friends, where he planned to deliver the final blow, his moment of triumph. With everyone gathered, he stood up, ready to claim his victory, and he couldn't help but smile as he exposed Jill's deception one last time, laying bare her failures before their mutual friends. "What you see before you won't be around for much longer, Jill. I'm done playing house with a fraud." The guests sat in a mix of shock and indignation, torn between laughter and pity for a woman who had collapsed under her own lies. Jill, desperate and cornered, attempted to speak, but her voice trembled under the weight of his words. "Please, just listen," she started, drawing closer, tears streaming down her face. But Jack held his head high, noting the stunned expressions surrounding him. "I won't be collected by your sob story. You forfeited that privilege when you decided to break our vows." It was catharsis, the final release. Watching her crumble was more than a victory. It was a powerful statement. In that moment, he absolved himself from the stranglehold of his past's betrayals. He had shifted from the victim of deceit to the architect of his own triumph. This confrontation stripped her of any shred of dignity left. No forgiveness would come from him. Her pleas fell on deaf ears as he basked in the clarity of his new resolve. Jack had become the master of his fate, leaving shattered remnants of betrayal behind, marking the end of their shared narrative. For Jack, survival meant not just resilience, but knowing one can rise stronger when they refuse to be a mere supporting character in someone else's story. The fallout from that dinner was as swift as it was devastating for Jill. News spread like wildfire among their social circles. Friends who once praised her charm now whispered about her deceit, turning their backs as they passed her in public. Jack found a grim satisfaction in every passing glance that rippled with disdain directed toward his estranged wife. The community that once revered Jill crumbled beneath the weight of her betrayal. Jack's next step was to solidify his financial independence from her completely. He sat down with a team of lawyers, preparing for the divorce proceedings that would dismantle Jill's life further. He wanted to find a way to protect the children and ensure they didn't suffer from the aftermath of their mother's actions. It was crucial to him that he provided a stable home for them, even as Jill's star had dimmed in their lives. "Jack, you've been incredibly proactive," his attorney, Lisa, said, reviewing the divorce petition. "Given the evidence you gathered, we have a strong case for custody, and we can secure a significant financial settlement due to your spouse's marital misconduct." Jack couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph at those words. "Let's ensure it's substantial. This isn't just about the money. It's about justice and teaching her a lesson. She needs to face the consequences of her actions." The courtroom felt cold. Jack sat in the plaintiff's chair, aware of the spectators observing closely. The atmosphere was tense, particularly for Jill, who now appeared disheveled and worn. Her polished exterior had collapsed, revealing the chaos she had created. Her attorney attempted to paint Jack as the vengeful husband, but Jack was ready, equipped with testimonials, records of Jill's expenditures, her reckless spending habits that funded her new life with her lover, and photos of every luxury car, weekend getaway, and intimate brunch she took without him. The judge listened intently, showing no sympathy toward the evidence laid bare. Each document Jack presented chipped away at Jill's credibility, turning the course of the proceedings permanently in his favor. The final outcome made all the struggles worth it. Jack received primary custody of the kids, a generous settlement, and full control of various joint assets, including their house. As Jill stood there, her face ashen, tears brimming in her eyes, Jack felt no glee in what had just transpired. Instead, it was a surreal moment, a conclusion to a chapter he hadn't even known was written. He felt detached, almost as if watching a scene unfold from a distance. Jill, already known as the town's fallen star, now became an outcast, wrestling with the aftermath of her actions and facing social humiliation for what seemed like the rest of her life. Days turned into weeks. and Jack used this transition period to rebuild. The house, once filled with tension and deceit, breathed new life. He transformed the children's playroom into a vibrant space filled with laughter, paint, and the joy that had been missing for so long. They engaged in family outings, movie nights, and afternoons filled with creativity. His home morphed into a sanctuary, brimming with love and security. This was his personal triumph. For every tear Jill shed in misery, Jack's resilience blossomed brightly. But he didn't forget. Every time he spotted Jill furtively glancing at them from a distance, trying to reconnect with the children, he felt an urge not to punish her further, but rather to protect his own. "No," he whispered one afternoon to himself as they passed by a playground where Jill sat on a bench, her head hanging low. "You lost your right to be part of their lives." It was during this transformative phase that he recommitted himself fully to his work, channeling his emotional turbulence into a fervent pursuit of success. He secured a promotion, expanding his professional reach. Jack's grit turned into ambition that pushed him farther than he had ever imagined. The workplace became another arena where he could channel his empowerment. However, even amidst this celebration of resilience, treachery lingered. During a corporate retreat, Jack found himself cornered by one of Jill's friends, a woman who had once shared secrets over brunches. "You have to understand, Jack," she began earnestly. "Jill made some mistakes, but she's hurting." He could feel the flood of anger welling within. "Hurting? You mean exposed? She betrayed the trust I poured into that marriage. She deserves every ounce of humiliation she faces." "But she—" her voice faltered, attempting to reason with him. "No, that's what she wanted. This life she chose, and I won't give her any of my pity," Jack retorted, his voice cold. These moments were scattered throughout his new life, reminders of the ties that bound him to Jill and the trust that had splintered. The emotional landscape still held remnants of hurt, but now it paired with an invigorating sense of power. Jack would not relent. He took pride in his unyielding approach. He had built a fortress around his heart while remaining an unwavering guardian to his children. For them, he would continue to fight against the fallout of their mother's choices. In a last desperate move for redemption, Jill reached out one evening, planning to meet Jack at a local cafe. "I want my kids back, Jack. I made a terrible mistake. I'm not that person anymore," she implored, her demeanor stripped of the bravado she had once wielded. "I'm not interested in who you think you are now," he replied coldly, staring right through her desperate eyes. "What you did is unforgivable." There was no reconciliation, no forgiveness left to grant her. He wouldn't allow it. As she stumbled away, crushed and lost, Jack felt renewed strength surge within. In his heart, he fully embraced that some wounds cannot be healed, some relationships cannot be restored. The lesson was clear. People like Jill, who exploit trust and manipulate love, do not deserve reconciliation or empathy from those they've wronged. Jack Collins had embraced his journey from victim to victor, learning that resilience not only involves survival, but also refusing to concede your dignity in the face of betrayal. As he returned home to his children, the warmth of their laughter followed him like a promise of brighter days, lighting the path ahead. They were free, and so was he. His anger transformed into a lesson in strength and the indomitable spirit of those who choose to move forward. He had triumphed over the shadow of his past, standing taller and stronger than before, knowing full well that he would never again allow someone to sabotage the sanctity of loyalty. As the summer months rolled in, Jack found solace in the routines he had built with his children, Mia and Lucas. Every Saturday morning became sacred. They would prepare breakfast together, with flour dusting the kitchen and laughter echoing off the walls. Jack reveled in their simplicity, reaffirming his commitment to being a present and caring father. These moments dissolved the ghosts of Jill's betrayal, stitching their family back together with threads of unconditional love. However, shadows still lingered on the fringes of their newfound happiness. Jill occasionally attempted to insert herself into their lives, offering hollow apologies sprinkled with empty promises and excuses. Jack learned to anticipate these encounters, each time steeling himself for her fabrications. One morning, while enjoying pancakes, Lucas peered out the window and spotted her lingering on the sidewalk, a familiar figure in distress. "Dad, is that Mommy?" he asked hesitantly, his small voice tinted with uncertainty. Jack felt a sharp pain pierce through his calmer facade. This was his reality now, a continual negotiation of guilt and loyalty between his children and the woman who had betrayed them. "Honey, let's go inside," he said gently, guiding them away from the window. "You know it's not easy for her right now. Just focus on us." Jack recognized the need to safeguard their joy. Ignoring her attempts at emotional manipulation, he encouraged the kids to express themselves freely about their feelings regarding Jill, maintaining an open dialogue. It became essential that they understood the nuance of trust and love, two things irrevocably tied to their mother in a way that now seemed distant, poisoned by betrayal. Days turned into weeks, and soon the new school year approached. Mia and Lucas were excited, and Jack channeled that excitement into new routines that would carry them forward. They visited the local community center, signed up for art classes, and took weekend hiking trips. Everything reflected Jack's unwavering resolve to mold their life into something beautiful, richer than before. But not all good things are immune to disruption. One evening after a particularly exhausting day at work, Jack found an unexpected email in his inbox. It was from Jill's new boyfriend, the man he had glimpsed during that fateful betrayal. The email was riddled with accusations, filled with demands for Jack to allow Jill to be part of their children's lives, and accusations of keeping them from their mother. Jack's heart raced. Despite his earlier triumphs, an internal war waged on in his mind. How dare this man dictate terms for his family? How dare he presume to know what was best for them? Jack drafted a sharp response, outlining the repercussions of their actions, the harm inflicted, and the reality Jill had created. He pressed send, the sensation of empowerment flooding through his system, only to feel it drain as quickly as it came. Still, he couldn't let it go unanswered. He wasn't going to back down. That evening, Jack would confront both Jill and her boyfriend head-on. He decided to host an impromptu meeting at a local cafe, a neutral ground where they could all air their grievances. Perhaps he would find closure. Perhaps he would uncover more about the motives behind Jill's incessant need to engage with his life. When the day arrived, anticipation buzzed in the air as he arrived early to claim a table in the corner. The sense of roasted coffee and fresh pastries mingled, providing an unexpected sense of calm. As the minutes ticked by, he tapped his fingers against the tabletop, the brewing tension reflected in his anxious body language. Jill arrived first, looking an amalgamation of defensiveness and feigned confidence. Jack noticed her carefully applied makeup that seemed more like a mask. She glanced around nervously before settling into the chair opposite him. "Thank you for meeting with me," Jill began, her voice trembling slightly. This isn't easy for me." Jack studied her coldly. "You're right, it shouldn't be easy. You don't get to control the narrative anymore. You don't get to waltz back into our lives like nothing happened. Your actions have consequences." Her eyes sparked with irritation. "But the kids are not your emotional pawns," Jack interrupted, his voice steady but firm. "You chose to betray me, them, and the life we built together. Don't you dare play the victim now." Jill opened her mouth to protest, but before she could utter a sound, the door swung open, and in strode her boyfriend, a confident man wearing the casual bravado of someone who thought he held the upper hand. As he approached the table and caught sight of Jack, a flicker of uncertainty darted across his face. "What's going on here?" he asked, his overconfidence wavering. Jack gestured for him to take a seat. "Did you come here to discuss your attempts to manipulate my children emotionally? Because I'd like to know what your plan is." The boyfriend scoffed, leaning back in his chair. "You're just bitter. You can't deny Jill's a good mother. The kids need both of us in their lives." Jack leaned forward, the tension palpable. "You really believe that? That they can just forget the lies, the betrayal? Think again. Jill has to earn back that trust, and being with you doesn't help her cause. You're not going to use them as a crutch for your relationship. The boyfriend's gaze hardened. You're selfish and controlling. You're trying to alienate her. That's emotional abuse, Jack. Emotional abuse? Jack snapped, fury rising. I'm trying to protect my children from further harm. Jill made her decisions and she'll handle the fallout. Your presence is not a solution, it's just another layer of deception. The battle lines were drawn, and both Jill and her boyfriend were left speechless, reassessing their approach. For Jack, confidence emerged as a defensive mechanism. He didn't want to continue suffering through interviews and spectacles orchestrated by those who broke trust. Instead, he had to show that his resolve was unshakable. Here's the deal. I'm not going to keep dragging this out into the courts. If you want a relationship with the kids, prove that you've changed and be real about it. No more charades, no more lies, and you both better get used to the idea that I'm going to be their rock moving forward, no matter what. With those stark words hanging in the air, Jack stood, allowing them to digest the reality of his unwavering position. He walked out, leaving Jill and her boyfriend in the quiet reverberations of their consequences. In the weeks that followed this confrontation, Jack kept his head held high, focusing on life with Mia and Lucas. He understood the complexities of fatherhood, combined with the remnants of a broken relationship, and how such factors would affect their family dynamic. But he also knew one immutable truth. New beginnings could still rise from the ashes of destruction. His life was no longer dictated by betrayal, but fortified by the resilience and strength he had cultivated. Wherever Jill headed next, he felt a renewed purpose. He was in control, and he would not falter in his commitment to protect his children, their happiness, and their future. The remnants of Jill's choices would no longer plane through their lives. Instead, hope and stability would flourish. As the story continued to unfold, Jack became more than a survivor. He emerged as an architect, crafting a life built on integrity, trust, and unwavering love. He knew this journey had just begun, but he was ready for whatever challenges would come next, armed with the lessons learned and the audacity to forge ahead, beyond betrayal's shadow. As fall approached, Jack's life settled into a more predictable rhythm. He focused on the kids and their school routines, carving out moments of intimacy that reminded him of the love they had built amidst the chaos. On weekends, they would go on adventures to pumpkin patches and local fairs, all while Jack reveled in being their rock, a figure both steady and supportive. One crisp Saturday afternoon, while carving pumpkins with Mia and Lucas, Jack felt a rush of gratitude. The children were giggling, their faces smeared with orange pulp, and their eyes bright with excitement. Jack smiled, realizing just how far they had come since the days of turmoil and heartbreak. It felt like he finally had control over the trajectory of their lives, a stark contrast to the chaotic and dark days marked by Jill's betrayal. But Jill was still not far from Jack's mind. Though he had fortified his emotional defenses, he could not ignore the lingering fear that she could reemerge at any moment, trying to carve her way back into their lives. Those concerns gnawed at him during quiet moments, but he tucked them away deep within, channeling that energy into his role as a father. School events emerged on the horizon like autumn leaves falling and reshaping the landscape. It was time for the annual Family Fun Day at the elementary school, where parents and children came together for festivities, games, and communal involvement. Jack's heart sank at the thought of Jill potentially trying to show up, determined to play the role of a devoted mother in front of their community. "Dad, are you coming to the fun day on Saturday?" Lucas asked, excitement practically bubbling over. "Absolutely, it'll be a blast," Jack responded, pulling his son into a hug. "We'll make the best pumpkin-themed booth the school has ever seen." As the date drew closer, he found himself pacing. Maybe he should do something extracurricular to distract himself from the thought of Jill. He picked up his phone and texted Lisa, his lawyer and trusted confidant. "Hey, thinking of gearing up for the Family Fun Day. Any thoughts on how to navigate this if Jill shows up?" The response was quick. "I'd be prepared, Jack. You've got the advantage, but you need to show no hesitation. Just remind her of the boundaries. Stand firm." The morning of the event arrived bright and clear. Anticipation crackled in the air as he entered the school grounds with Mia and Lucas. Decorations adorned the walls, vibrant colors mingling, creating an atmosphere pulsing with joy. Jack's heart raced, not just from excitement, but because he knew this was a pivotal moment for him, one that could potentially attract the specter of Jill's influence. As they moved between booths, Jack found himself momentarily lost in the laughter and cries of children, the camaraderie of parents exchanging stories, the sweet aroma of freshly made popcorn filling the air. It was a scene he cherished, pure, innocent, reflective of the strength of family. "Look, Dad! The pumpkin carving contest is starting!" Mia exclaimed, pulling him away from his thoughts. As they approached the booth, Jack felt a chill run down his spine. Out of the corner of his eye, he spotted Jill standing at the edge of the crowd, her eyes scanning the area. When their gazes locked, Jack felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it, the first real confrontation since the dust had settled. "Stay close, kids," Jack murmured, feeling protective instinct rise within. He took a breath, reclaiming the confidence he had cultivated for months. Jill approached, her carefully curated smile faltering slightly when she got closer. "Hey, Jack, I came to support the kids today," she said, her voice lacking conviction. "They're doing just fine with me here," he responded firmly, not allowing any vulnerability to seep in. "Well, I'd like to... This isn't just about you anymore, Jill. You lost that privilege when you chose deceit over family," he snapped, taking an unconsciously defensive stance, arms crossed. Before Jill could retort, Mia and Lucas bounced up, their excitement bubbling over. "Mom, look! We're doing the pumpkin contest." They were blissfully unaware of the tension hanging heavy in the air. "Hey, pumpkin champs!" Jill put on her best motherly smile, kneeling to their level as if the stakes of the conversation were buried beneath their youthful laughter. Jack couldn't help but notice how strange she looked, the flicker of panic in her eyes, as she tried to maintain her composure. At that moment, Jack realized they were witnessing a pivotal clash of realities. For the kids, this day was a celebration, but for Jill, it was an uphill battle to regain some semblance of connection. She was clearly grasping for stability, but Jack wouldn't allow his children to be the casualty of her chaos. "Let's just focus on the contest, all right?" Jack interjected, steering the conversation back to safety. He guided the kids away from Jill, his protectiveness flaring as he assessed her behavior. The contest proceeded, filled with laughter and camaraderie as families carved, painted, and displayed their pumpkins. Jack's heart swelled with pride watching Mia and Lucas competently working together, representing the unity he had nurtured in their home. But in the recesses of the event, he couldn't shake the feeling that Jill was lurking, desperately trying to salvage what she had lost. The judging came, and Jack felt cool relief as the kids received an honorable mention for their creativity. As they celebrated, the anxiety in Jack's chest began to dissipate. This universe of laughter sustained him and reminded him of what was most important. However, he soon spotted movement near the edge of the crowd. Jill approached once more, determination etched on her face. "Jack, can we talk privately for a moment?" He hesitated, assessing the implications. His heart told him this could only lead to back-and-forth entanglement. A mask of forced compassion adorned Jill's features, betraying her true intentions. "Not today, Jill. The kids are here. This isn't the time or the place for your games," he replied, aware that it was vital to set clear boundaries. Tension mounted as Jill gripped the edge of the table, visibly trying to suppress her rising frustration. "You don't understand. I need to explain. I made mistakes, yes, but I'm trying to do better." Jack felt anger rekindle within him. "You think suddenly expressing remorse gives you the right to upend our world again? I won't let that happen." Before the situation could escalate further, the kids bounced back over, their energy palpable. "We won! We won, Dad!" Lucas exclaimed, dragging Mia behind him. "Yay! I knew we could do it!" she shouted gleefully. Their joy injected a much-needed distraction into the confrontation, and Jack felt a sense of reprieve wash over him. With gritted teeth, he turned towards the children and feigned enthusiasm. "You guys did amazing! Look at those pumpkins!" Jack, however, sensed a brewing storm. Jill's last words hung ominously in the air like storm clouds. They weren't finished yet, and as he separated himself from Jill momentarily, he resolved to remain vigilant. As the event wound down, he gathered Mia and Lucas, firing up their spirits as small prizes were handed out. But Jill's echoes of pain continued to resonate in his mind. Later that evening, while putting the kids to bed after a day filled with excitement, Jack felt the warmth of their presence fill his heart. "Dad, when is Mom going to come to stay with us again?" Mia asked, eyes wide in innocence. Jack turned to face them, unsure of how to answer. "Well, sweetheart, Mom is working on some things. Right now, we just have to focus on being here together. Family is stronger than anything else, and we take care of each other, all right?" Understanding washed over Lucas and Mia's faces. Jack kissed them goodnight, feeling the weight of his responsibilities settling heavy on his shoulders yet again. He pulled his phone from his pocket, deliberating on whether to reach out to Lisa for legal advice. The lines blurred as he felt the complexity of Jill's choices still hanging in the air, echoing around their lives. Whatever lay ahead, Jack knew one thing. His commitment to protecting his children would remain steadfast, a guiding principle against whatever storm might come, illusions or otherwise. He had reclaimed his strength, having crafted a new narrative that would stand against manipulation or deceit, an unwavering fortress for his children's future. In the darkness of the night, he tucked away his worries as he drifted into sleep, determined to face whatever challenges tomorrow might bring with newfound resolve, knowing he would build a future capable of shining brighter than any shadow from the past. The weeks following the family fun day unfolded with a whirlwind of emotions for Jack and his children. He managed to shield Mia and Lucas from the worst of their mother's turmoil, remaining steadfast in the pursuit of joy despite lingering tensions. School activities thrived, filled with soccer practices, science fairs, and more tranquil evenings spent at home, cultivating their tight-knit family unit. However, lurking beneath the surface was a constant sense of unease. Jill's sporadic attempts to insert herself back into their lives continued, her haunting presence lingering like an unresolved chord in a symphony. Jack had grown accustomed to shielding Mia and Lucas from her emotional games, but he couldn't ignore the fact that she was nothing if not persistent. During a parent-teacher conference one evening, Jack sat in the classroom, discussing his kids' progress with their teachers. In that moment of respite, Jill appeared at the door, a frigid wind accompanying her presence. The room fell silent as all heads turned toward the entrance. Jack's heart sank, but he quickly masked his reactions behind a neutral facade. Jill waved awkwardly, her voice high-pitched and forced. "I just wanted to catch up on what I missed." Jack felt a wave of frustration wash over him. This was not the place for her dramatic entrances. He stood up, addressing the teachers. "Excuse me for a moment." Stepping out into the hallway felt both a relief and a burden. Jill trailed behind him, her face a canvas of nervous energy. "I just wanted to see how they were doing. I'm still their mother." "That ties into the problem, Jill," he said, his voice firmly asserting its ground. "You can't just drop in at your convenience as if everything is normal when you know it isn't." "I'm trying to get back in their lives," she pleaded, her voice strained against the reality of their situation. "You have to understand, it's hard for me too." "I made such a mistake." "Your mistakes have consequences," Jack replied bluntly, his breath heavy with disbelief. "You act like this is just some phase we're all supposed to overlook. You thought betrayal didn't come at a cost. This isn't just about you anymore. This is about our children." "Please, Jack." "Please what?" he interrupted sharply. "Please beg for forgiveness? That doesn't work with people you've hurt." Jill's shoulders sagged under the weight of his words. "I want to see them more. I love them." "Love isn't just a word, Jill. It's action. It's trust. It's reliability. You need to rebuild that, not just demand it," he said firmly. "And right now, you're failing." Tension hung in the air before their conversation was interrupted by a teacher stepping out to check on them. "Everything all right out here?" Jack quickly steered the conversation back to professionalism. dismissing Jill with a fleeting glare, unapologetic and resolute. "We're working through some things." "I'll contact you later," he stated, making it clear that this would not be another emotional, drawn-out conversation. The teachers nodded in understanding and Jill retreated, finally grasping that Jack meant business. For the remainder of the meeting, he pushed aside the encounter, forcefully redirecting his mind to focus on the children. As the days moved on, Jack remained committed to nurturing stability in their home. He did, however, find himself in a constant balancing act, weighing moments of vulnerability against resilience and teaching his children the significance of boundaries. But tension escalated unexpectedly. One afternoon, while Jack picked up the children from soccer practice, news began to circulate among parents about Jill's burgeoning relationship with another man. This time, Jack felt a mixture of disgust and pity. Yet his immediate reaction was concern for how it would impact Mia and Lucas. "What's going to happen, Dad?" Mia asked as they buckled into the back seat. "Is Mom trying to be friends with that guy?" Jack cast a glance in the rearview mirror, heart heavy for his children. "I don't know, sweetheart. But you've got me looking out for you, always. That's what matters." "Is she going to keep doing this?" Lucas chimed in, the worry in his voice palpable. Jack took a deep breath, swirling into the disquietude of a fatherly instinct. "We're not going to let her decisions confuse or hurt us." Days turned into weeks as autumn yielded to the onset of winter, along with a sense of impending separation, both from Jill and the life they once knew. As holidays approached, a new layer of complexity emerged. Thanksgiving arrived, bringing with it the customary gatherings. Jack took it upon himself to shape new traditions for Mia and Lucas, substituting former customs that had dissolved into the fray. They crafted decorations together, pieced together stories of gratitude, united in their intent to fortify their bonds. Yet Jill began to resurface. The new boyfriend was nowhere to be seen, her faded determination replaced with a more desperate approach. The week of Thanksgiving, she showed up unannounced at their doorstep, anxiously fidgeting with the hem of her coat, a slight sheen of vulnerability crossing her features. "Can I talk to you, Jack?" she implored, biting her lip. This time, it was hard for Jack to maintain his defenses. He wanted to deny her the opportunity, yet the protective urge toward their children dissipated any antagonism. "This better be important, Jill," he said, wary yet willing to listen. As she entered their home, the rush of nostalgia tugged at Jack's heartstrings. This was once their safe space, but it felt different now, both familiar yet infinitely distant, a ghost of what it had been. "I want to spend Thanksgiving with you and the kids," Jill stated, her voice trembling slightly. "I want to make it right." Jack raised an eyebrow, battling the emotions that lurked in the corners of his mind. "You think you can just reclaim family time after everything?" "I know I messed up," she admitted, her voice cracking, "but I want to be there for the kids. I want to help them feel normal again." "Normal?" Jack scoffed, crossing his arms defiantly. "You do realize you've shaken the foundation of their lives." "Please, Jack." "No," he interrupted. The protective fury he had honed ignited again. "You don't get to just walk in here expecting reconciliation just because the holidays are here. We're not a family anymore. We're different now." Her eyes glistened, and Jack could see the rush of emotions flood her expression, merging regret and anger. "You don't know what it's like to be outside looking in. I've lost everything. I'm trying to regain control of my life. Don't I get a second chance?" "No, you don't," Jack replied firmly. But as the tension faded into the air, he found himself reconsidering. Perhaps there was something to be salvaged. Perhaps the holidays could become a backdrop for healing, not just frustration. Yet the protective instinct for Mia and Lucas burned hotter than any fleeting consideration of forgiveness. The door swung open and the children came bounding in, voices cheerful and innocent. Their world was entirely unaware of the emotional tempest brewing within the walls of the home. "Hey, kids! Guess who stopped by?" Jack said, an effort to shift the dynamic. "Hi, Mommy!" Mia exclaimed, rushing toward Jill without hesitation. Lucas followed, his face lighting up at the reunion. Jack felt the rush of adrenaline dissect him as the kids embraced Jill tightly, drawing closer in a show of affection that posed a threat of heartbreak for everyone involved. His heart ached. It was a conflict between wanting to preserve innocence and safeguarding against pain. Jill turned to face Jack, a silent plea woven into her eyes. In that moment, he grasped the gravity of the situation. As much as her previous actions hurt them, the bond shared between children and their mother was a powerful force, one he couldn't extinguish without damaging the children in return. Jack swallowed hard and looked back at his kids. Okay, we can have a Thanksgiving together, but let's keep it simple. There will be boundaries, he stated firmly. Jill nodded, tears shimmering on the edges of her lashes. Thank you, she whispered, a mix of relief and regret coloring her voice. In that moment, Jack felt the weight of a complicated truce settling over them. He had not necessarily forgiven her, but he knew that allowing her a chance to be part of their lives, while also mingling in boundaries he set himself, would ultimately fortify the family he had built. Thanksgiving would be a step, a cautious, guarded step toward healing. But he was armed with the knowledge that sometimes moving forward meant facing the past together, no matter how much it hurt. As the evening stretched on and laughter echoed through the halls, Jack held no illusions about the work ahead. Each day would be a new combination of vulnerability and strength, shaped within an ever-evolving narrative. His role as protector would continue, but the ground beneath them was shifting. Jack had chosen the path forward, one still shrouded in complexity, uncertainty, and yet a potential for rebuilding. In the heart of that chaos, hope flickered, fragile yet steadfast, leading them into a future he would navigate with determination. A journey for all, bound together through change, understanding, and newfound resilience. The Thanksgiving dinner was a testament to Jack's resolve. He meticulously arranged everything, ensuring that the atmosphere felt warm and inviting, yet remained underpinned by boundaries that only he understood. The laughter of Mia and Lucas filled the air, a stark reminder that their happiness was his ultimate goal, despite the complexities swirling around them. As the sun dipped below the horizon, illuminating the room in a soft, golden glow, the stage was set. Jack stood at the kitchen counter, carving the turkey, while Jill busied herself setting the table, an action that felt both foreign and oddly familiar. Her presence was a reminder of their past, and yet a signal of a painful present that he couldn't simply ignore. "Mom, look, I made this special decoration," Lucas exclaimed, presenting a paper turkey he had colored. His eyes sparkled with mischief, as if he were showing off a coveted treasure. "That's amazing, Lucas. You're a great artist," Jill enthused, kneeling down to his level and embracing him, her voice beaming with warmth. Jack felt a twinge of something resembling jealousy mixed with the bitter sweetness of the moment. It was a reminder that every kind word Jill bestowed now had to be scrutinized against the backdrop of betrayal. Dinner was a careful dance of pleasantries. Small talk floated between the parental figures, each avoiding the jagged edges of their shared history. Jack noticed Jill's slightly nervous glances in his direction, as if gauging his reactions, while Mia and Lucas buzzed with excitement about their school play and upcoming holiday activities. "Can I come to your school play?" Jill asked, her tone laced with genuine hope. "It's going to be amazing. You have to come, Mom," Mia chimed in, the support of her innocent enthusiasm momentarily weakening Jack's defenses. He took a deep breath, digesting emotions with the turkey. "We'll see how it plays out. Just remember, coming back into their lives takes time, Jill. You have to earn that trust back." "I understand," she murmured, her eyes flickering with a mix of warmth and regret. "I want to be there for you both. For the kids." Lunch progressed with more banter. However, between bites of mashed potatoes and sips of apple cider, Jill occasionally attempted to pivot the conversation back to more personal anecdotes or remnants of their past. Jack steered those discussions back to neutral topics, not wanting to unearth data that could spiral into hurtful territory. Mia and Lucas were blissfully the anchors that kept Jack from spiraling into the heaviness of the room. They cracked jokes and relayed stories from their school days with endearing energy. And then I said, "That's not a dog. That's a pig in a costume," Lucas roared, sending all of them into delightful fits of laughter. But as dinner drew to a close, and the last of the dishes were cleared, a tension nipped in the air. Jack recognized that inevitably soon, the conversations would shift toward deeper questions. Questions he himself wasn't quite ready to confront. Over dessert, Jill finally addressed the elephant in the room, her tone shifting slightly. Jack, can we just talk about us? About how our family has changed? He watched her fidgeting hands, the faintest tremor giving away her anxiety. Jill, we've already discussed this. You're here to see them, not to rehash our past. But they're part of our past? I'm still their mother, she responded, voice edged with urgency. I hate that I'm not part of their lives the way I used to be. I want to change that, and I need you to understand. Jack felt his defenses rising instinctively. You seem to forget that being their mother is not enough after everything that's happened. You don't get to walk back in and expect it all to return to normal because you feel guilty. Listen, I'm not saying it's easy, Jill insisted, struggling now, but I want to show them they still have a mom who loves them. I'll do anything to prove I can be better. Mia and Lucas exchanged confused glances at the elevated volume of their conversation. Jack took a moment, searching for the right words that wouldn't further fracture the fragile equilibrium they had worked so hard to rebuild. Being better takes more than words, he replied calmly, choosing his language carefully. It requires consistency, honesty, and transparency. You have to work to build back that trust with them and with me. Jack saw Jill take a deep breath, her composure wavering. You think I don't want that? You think I didn't realize how much I lost? Jill, what exactly do you want from me? An easy path to forgiveness? To be welcomed back with open arms while you continue to act recklessly? Jack pressed, holding her gaze firmly. I want to be part of our family. Our kids don't deserve to suffer for my mistakes. I want to be there to lift them up. You want to be a mother, Jack asked? Then prove it, consistently. You don't just waltz in and out of their lives when it suits you. If you want to see them, then show up every day as the mom you claim you want to be. Not just during the holidays or when it's convenient. Jill's eyes glimmered with the threat of tears, but she nodded, as if absorbing the weight of his words. I will. I'll prove I can be there. Or I won't come back at all. The conversation hung heavy in the air, a mixture of liberation and anxiety. Jack sensed a tenuous truce begin to form, as if they were tiptoeing around unresolved emotions, yet understanding the necessity of moving forward. As Jack walked the kids to their rooms later that night, he felt a familiar strain in his chest. Kids, can we talk? Was Mommy sad? Mia asked softly, her voice revealing her tender heart. She's struggling. But I made it clear that love takes work, Jack replied, settling beside them. He wanted to articulate how complicated adult relationships could be, but he also understood that age-appropriate language mattered. You remember what we talked about trust and love, that they're earned over time? Lucas nodded, his brow furrowed in thought. But can Mommy come back? Can she be our mom again? Maybe, Jack said, choosing his words carefully, but not without effort. She's working to show us her love, and it's going to take time. They both nodded, faces resolute yet vulnerable. The hope they held within was palpable. Jack kissed them goodnight, a heart full of resolve. The road ahead would be rocky, filled with hurdles and emotional pitfalls, but for the first time in a long while, it felt like they were moving forward. The unforgiving past couldn't be forgotten, but it could become a cornerstone for a stronger future. As Jack closed the bedroom door, he resolved to remain vigilant while giving Jill the chance to change, however improbable it felt. If the act of forgiveness meant building a new version of their family, all for the kids, then perhaps through hard work and persistence, real progress could be made. He sat in his living room, warming himself by the fire, reflecting on the coming months. A flicker of doubt danced through his mind, but deep down, Jack understood that recovery was not a solo journey. The winding road ahead promised challenges, but it also held the potential for a newfound resilience, one crafted through commitment. With that understanding settled in his heart, Jack steeled himself. The journey was far from over, but for every hurdle, there was the opportunity to emerge stronger, united by love, and forged in hard-earned trust. As the holiday season approached, The air crackled with anticipation and uncertainty. Jack found himself balancing the duality of blending old traditions and forming new ones, all while navigating the evolving relationship with Jill. Thanksgiving was a cautious success, but the prospect of Christmas loomed closer, bringing with it a mix of anxiety and hope. Jack focused on making this Christmas special for Mia and Lucas. They spent weekends baking cookies, decorating the house with twinkling lights, and crafting handmade ornaments, each little moment weaving a tapestry of joy around their home. He wanted this Christmas to symbolize their resilience, a celebration of their family, reborn through trials and triumphs. Jill had stepped back for the most part, offering space after their Thanksgiving confrontation. Jack appreciated the time apart, understanding that healing required distance. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling of impending change. He sensed she was quietly gearing up for her next move, hoping to reinsert herself into their lives for the holidays. As Christmas approached, Jack struggled with the decision about whether to include Jill in their festivities. Mia and Lucas, exuding excitement, went back and forth about whether their mother would join them. "Do you think she'll be at the party, Dad?" Mia would ask, her eyes bright with innocent anticipation. Jack chose his words carefully. "I don't know, sweetheart. I think she's still figuring things out," he replied, giving no specifics to feed their uncertainty. "Let's focus on what we can control. We can make this the best Christmas ever, just the three of us." In his heart, however, Jack knew the holidays often blurred the lines of responsibility and love. He recalled his own childhood, the joy and chaos that came with family gatherings, and found himself hoping for a similar feeling for his children, even amid uncertainties. He wanted to mold their experience into something not defined by past hurts, but by the future of bright possibilities. A few days before Christmas, as the children sang holiday carols, Jack received a message from Jill. She wanted to meet before the holidays to discuss the kids and her desire to be part of their Christmas plans. His stomach twisted at the thought. He felt the familiar rush of tension. After the Thanksgiving dinner and the fragile progress they made, the prospect of opening that door again felt precarious. Still, Jack recognized that they needed to talk about the implications of her involvement, particularly for Mia and Lucas. He agreed to meet, setting the rendezvous at the local cafe, where the scent of brewing coffee mingled with the aroma of fresh pastries. When the day arrived, Jack entered the cafe with a mix of determination and trepidation. He spotted Jill seated at a booth, her posture slightly hunched as she scrolled through her phone. She looked up as he approached, a mixture of hope and apprehension etched on her face. "Thanks for coming," she said, her voice softer than in recent interactions. "Let's get to the point." "It's about the kids," Jack replied, taking a seat opposite her. "What do you want?" Jill took a deep breath. "I know things are complicated. I want to be honest. I'm serious about being part of their lives again. I know I've messed up, but I want to show them I can be the mother they deserve." Jack's skepticism flared. "Jill, this isn't a light switch you can turn on and off. You've already disrupted their lives. They're healing from what happened." "I understand that, and I'm not trying to rush back in. You're right," she admitted earnestly. "But Christmas is important for kids. They deserve to feel the spirit of the season with their mom." The sincerity in her voice caught him off guard, but he steeled himself. "What does that mean for you? Are you expecting a picture-perfect family Christmas? You can't just show up and think you can resolve everything with a bow on top. I'm not expecting that." "I want to work with you to make it a shared celebration," she insisted, holding his gaze. "I want to contribute and be a part of it. No expectations." Jack hesitated, weighing his options against the backdrop of what was best for Mia and Lucas. He thought of his children and how vulnerable they could be, torn between their parents, happiness tinged by uncertainty. "I need an assurance that this isn't just about your guilt," he said finally. "They will be at the center of this, and any disruptions will not be tolerated. I swear I want to rebuild. I'll work hard to prove it, starting with Christmas," she responded, her determination evident. Jack saw something genuine in her eyes, a flicker of the person she could be. "All right, we'll try it. I'll let you join us for Christmas Eve, but we communicate first about everything. You need to understand the boundaries. Tears welled in Jill's eyes, and Jack felt an unexpected twinge of empathy. "Thank you. I promise not to let you down," she whispered. As they parted ways, Jack felt a mix of hope and unease. Perhaps this holiday could foster a fragile reconciliation. However, he also understood that caution was essential. Rebuilding a fallen structure required time, care, and an unwavering commitment to facing the challenges ahead. Christmas Eve approached, and the energy in the Collins home soared. Jack and the kids spent the entire day baking cookies, decorating the tree, and preparing for their family dinner. The laughter echoing through their home was magnetic, and Jack's heart swelled with joy as Mia and Lucas reveled in the spirit surrounding them. That evening, they laid out cookies and milk for Santa, building excitement for the children. "Dad, I can't wait to see what Santa brings. Can we open presents early?" Lucas jumped around, full of energy. "Not a chance, buddy. We have to wait until morning," Jack chuckled, ushering them off to bed with gentle nudges. As midnight approached, Jack found himself standing by the window, gazing out at the starry sky decorated by a full moon. The vibrations of familial love bolstered his resolve, but the underlying anxiety about Jill's presence loomed closer. The next morning, he woke the kids early, capturing the joy that Christmas morning always brought. Mia and Lucas rushed down the stairs, their laughter echoing joyfully through the air as they tore into presents. "Look, Dad, Santa brought me a new soccer ball," Lucas shouted, his face lighting up in pure elation. Mia was equally ecstatic as she unveiled her carefully chosen gifts. The magic of their voices surrounded Jack, but even as the chaos of unwrapping continued, he felt the tension building as the doorbell rang. "Mom's here," Mia squealed, excitement pouring forth. Jack's heart raced. He quickly steeled himself for Jill's arrival. He opened the door, revealing Jill carrying a simple brown paper bag filled with homemade treats. She stood awkwardly, offering a tentative smile. "Hey, I brought some cookies," Jill said, attempting to appear casual as she stepped inside. "Thanks. Just a moment," Jack replied, ushering her quickly into the house where the kids awaited, wide-eyed and brimming with joy. "Mom!" they cheered in an instant, lunging toward her with innocent affection. Jack stepped back, observing the reunion, the warmth around them tugging uncomfortably at his heartstrings. As Jill knelt to greet the kids, Jack felt the mixture of hope and protectiveness battle within him. For all the joy radiating from his children, the complexity of their history hung stale in the air. This was a new beginning, one that could forge paths toward healing, or plunge them into the depths of confusion. He needed to remain vigilant, ensuring that boundaries weren't just written words, but established actions and commitments. "Let's make this a Christmas to remember, shall we?" Jill said brightly, pulling the children into an embrace, her eyes sparkling with a semblance of renewed purpose. For Jack, it was a realization that, amidst the complexities, such moments could lead to transformation. As they moved into the celebrations, Jack prepared himself for the reality of building a new foundation for their family. The journey was far from finished, but perhaps through cooperation and shared warmth, they could navigate the challenges together, step by careful step, paving a pathway from past hurts toward rediscovery, in hopes of finding balance in the days ahead. The morning unfolded with a mixture of chaos and joy. The air thick with the scent of cinnamon and pine from the Christmas tree, adorned in twinkling lights. Jack maneuvered through the excitement as Mia and Lucas reveled in the gifts spread across the living room floor, their laughter creating a melody that mingled with the soft carols playing in the background. Jill maneuvered through the crowd of gifts, embracing the children with a warmth that both thrilled and unsettled Jack. He struggled to reconcile the motherly instincts she was displaying now with her past mistakes. The dynamic felt surreal, but as much as he wanted to retreat into skepticism, he kept reminding himself of the shared hope for healing. "Look, Mom, I got a new skateboard," Lucas exclaimed, his eyes gleaming with enthusiasm as he brandished his gift to her like a trophy. "Wow, that's incredible," Jill exclaimed, bending down to his level, her delight sincere as she ruffled his hair. Jack watched their interaction closely, noting the genuine joy flickering across her face, even as it stirred uneasy emotions within him. Once breakfast was on the table, pancakes, bacon, and fruit, the atmosphere became a blend of familial comfort and cautious optimism. They sat together, Jack on one side, Jill on the other, as Mia and Lucas passionately recounted their favorite presents and the adventures they hoped to have. "Mom, are you going to come to my soccer game next week?" Lucas asked, the question holding a weight Jack recognized. It was a plea for reassurance, and one that echoed the children's desire for stability. "I'd love to, buddy. I'll be there," Jill replied, sincerity radiating from her voice. For a fleeting moment, Jack saw a glimpse of hope. Perhaps this was the first step toward building reliability. After breakfast, the scene transformed into a flurry of excitement, with the kids diving headfirst into the gift mountain. Wrapping paper flew, squeals of delight erupted, and Jack felt a surge of warmth. He stood back for a moment, observing the familial tableau, noting how everything felt deceptively normal. But beneath the surface, Jack maintained a watchful eye on Jill. Throughout the morning, she exhibited a sense of eagerness, attempting to engage in playful banter with the kids, and even making a few half-hearted efforts to initiate things with him. "Can I help you with cleaning up?" she offered brightly, after the chaos had settled a bit, her hands brushing against the remnants of wrapping paper strewn across the floor. "Sure," he replied, his tone unguarded but cautious. If they were truly forging a new path, he would need to assess how much he was willing to allow her into the quotidian parts of their lives, and just how much trust could be rebuilt so easily. "Thanks, I just want to be involved more, you know," Jill said, glancing up at him with genuine hopefulness. "I get that, but you have to understand, it takes time," Jack replied carefully. "Trust isn't something that can just be magically restored. You need to show up, consistently." "I promise I will," Jill said, her voice earnest. "This time of year means a lot to me. I want to be a better mom." Jack nodded, noting the sincerity in her tone. However, uncertainty lingered in his mind. Being better means showing that this isn't just about the holidays for you. It's about everyday involvement. With the remnants of the morning's indulgence still resting in the air, they cleaned up together, weaving through questions and comments from the kids. Mia asking if they could make holiday cookies later. Lucas concerned about the weather for the upcoming soccer game. As they tidied, Jack continued to keep a careful watch. He found himself fluctuating between skepticism and tolerance. Every friendly interaction felt like a step forward, yet he couldn't shake the remnants of doubt or past wounds. By midday, Jack suggested they take a break and head out for a walk. The fresh winter air crisp and invigorating. It was a way to shake off any lingering awkwardness and celebrate the day outside. The kids bounded ahead, their laughter trailing into the distance, while Jack and Jill walked behind, their pace measured. "Do you think we can make this work?" Jill asked cautiously, glancing up at him as they strolled side by side. "You and me, again as parents? I really want to try." Jack looked ahead, the trees lining the path dusted with snow, each branch an emblem of resilience amid the harshness of winter. "It's a long journey, Jill. I need to see you putting in the effort to be consistent before I can even think about what that looks like. It won't just change overnight." "I know," she said, her voice small. "I'm just scared of losing them completely. I have so much I need to make up for." Jack felt a sting of empathy tug at him. Despite her past, the yearning in her voice was palpable. "They care about you. But please don't turn this into another version of what we've had before. If you want to try again, that means real transparency." Their conversation was cut short as Mia and Lucas raced back, their faces flushed from the cold, laughter springing forth as they hopped like excited deer. "Come on, look at this hill. We have to slide down it," Lucas yelled, pointing to a slope nearby, blanketed in freshly fallen snow. "What are you waiting for?" Jill laughed, her demeanor shifting instantly from contemplative to playful as she bounded toward the hill. Jack watched, entertained by how quickly her worries evaporated in the face of their children's delight. The family spent the afternoon sliding down the hill, crafting snowmen, their laughter echoing through the trees, a beautiful game of chase softening the edges of any lingering discomfort. It was moments like these that reminded Jack how important it was for the children to experience joy, even amidst a backdrop of uncertainty. As they finally returned home, cheeks rosy and spirits high, the warmth of the house embraced them as they peeled off their snowy layers. The afternoon blended into the evening, where stories were shared, laughter punctuated the air, and the trepidation that once lingered dissipated like fog in sunlight. When the evening came to a close, the children snuggled into their beds, smiling and sleepy, and Jack finally collapsed onto the couch with a sense of cautious relief. Jill approached, a soft smile playing on her lips. "I had such a good time with them today. Thank you for letting me in." "The kids love you, Jill. It won't be easy, but it's a start," he replied, a mix of hope and apprehension swirling within him. Jill took a seat beside him, her expression shifting to a more somber tone. "I know I messed up, but this time, I want to be someone you can count on again, a better version of me." Jack turned to face her, searching for sincerity in her eyes. "It's not just about you wanting to change. You need to show it to them, to me. That way, we can all heal together." She nodded slowly, understanding the gravity of his words. "I will. I really will." That night, as Jack prepared for bed, he felt a mix of anxiety and determination. Progress had been made, but it was fragile, a balancing act that required careful attention. With every small step, the path toward rebuilding was more tangible, but resumption did not equate to the storm's end. Jack took a moment to breathe before settling under the covers. Hope flickered like the lights on their Christmas tree. Perhaps the journey ahead would be intricate and demanding, but he resolved to hold on to the possibility of transformation, building the resilience necessary for a brighter future. The narrative of recovery was just beginning, and he was ready to embrace the challenges that lay ahead alongside the ones he loved. As winter settled deeper into the landscape, Jack found himself riding the roller coaster of emotions that accompanied the return of a more involved Jill. After Christmas, their interactions became regular, punctuated by attempts to reconnect as co-parents. The kids were delighted to see their mother, and Jack, despite his initial hesitations, recognized that their joy outweighed his own cautious skepticism. The first week of January brought Mia's birthday, a milestone filled with excitement. Jack spent hours organizing a party, determined to create a magical day for her. Invitations were sent out, decorations were hung, and he even baked Mia's favorite chocolate cake as a special treat. However, the anticipation of the impending celebration was tainted by Jill's request to be included in the festivities. Jack debated whether it was the right decision, knowing it could easily unsettle the careful balance they had begun to establish. Still, the thought of Mia's excited face made his resolve falter. "Can Mom come too?" Mia asked when he explained the preparations. "I want her to be there," Jack sighed, knowing how much their daughter wanted her mom included. "All right, but just for a little while, not the whole day. We'll need to keep things manageable." "Yay!" Mia squealed, her joy momentarily lifting Jack's apprehension. He set about crafting a party plan that felt inclusive, but understood the boundaries necessary for everyone's well-being. On the day of the party, the house transformed into a vibrant hub of guests. A flurry of kids zipping around, laughter echoing through the air, and the aroma of freshly frosted cake mingling with salty chips and sweet soda. The excitement was infectious, and for a while, Jack allowed himself to immerse in the happiness surrounding them. When Jill arrived, dressed casually but looking surprisingly composed, Jack gestured to her to ensure that everything remained friendly and cordial. Mia dashed up to her immediately, excitement brimming. "Mom, look at my cake!" Jill knelt down to meet Mia's gaze, and Jack observed the sincerity in Jill's expression. This was a moment for both of them. "It looks amazing, sweetie. You did a great job picking out the colors," Jill praised, smiling genuinely. As they moved through the celebrations, Jack felt a tentative sense of relief emerge within him. The children played games while they sang and danced, their collective voices illuminating the room with warmth. During a quiet moment, Jack found himself side by side with Jill while the kids engaged in an art project. "Thanks for including me in her birthday," she said softly, her gaze focused on their daughter. "It means a lot to see her so happy." It's for her, Jill, he replied, trying to maintain the firm boundaries he'd set. But that doesn't guarantee everything will just fall back into place. Trust needs time. I know, she responded, her tone earnest. I'm committed to showing you I can be trusted again. I want to earn that. Their conversation felt like a bridge, a fragile connection straddling the past and future. Jack could see how much she wanted to regain a place in the children's lives. And for him, it was both heartening and terrifying. As the party came to a close, the last guests departed, leaving behind a chaotic but joyful scene. Jack felt exhilarated by the success of the day, but equally aware of the looming shadows of uncertainty. Mia, did you have fun? Jack asked, kneeling down to gather his daughter's attention amidst the post-party mess. Best birthday ever, Dad. Thanks for everything, she beamed, holding her new art supplies close. The night wore on, the remnants of the birthday bash littering the living room. Jack began cleaning up while the kids excitedly played with their new toys. Jill joined him in the cleanup efforts, trying to remain helpful and engaged. I wish I could have done more, she offered, her hands busy sorting through the remnants of cake plates and decorations. It's all right, Jill. You showed up, and that's a big step, he acknowledged, focusing on the task at hand. After they finished tidying up, Jill lingered for a moment, the air thick with anticipation. Can we talk? She asked, her voice dropping to a quieter tone. Not wanting to appear combative in front of the children, Jack conceded. Sure, just let me put the kids to bed first. When he returned to the living room, the kids were tucked in, and the sleepiness had settled into the house. He joined Jill on the couch, a sense of foreboding heavy in the air. I know today went well, but I want to make sure we keep this momentum going, Jill said, her expression earnest. We can't slip back into old ways. Right, Jack replied, excitement tempered with caution. Your presence has to be consistent. It can't just be a holiday appearance or a birthday party. I'm willing to see how we can navigate this, but you have to keep showing up. I will show up, I promise, Jill insisted, but I also want to know how you feel about all of this. I want to be honest. I feel cautious, Jack admitted, vulnerability creeping into his tone. Seeing you with the kids brings up old wounds, and trust remains hard to foster. Jill nodded, absorbing his words. I understand, but every day that passes, I'm more committed to proving I can be part of their lives again. I know I'm the one who has to change. Actions speak louder than words, Jill, he reminded her. You need to be aware that I have to protect their hearts first. I want that too, she said, her voice tinged with sincerity. Let's work as a team. Even still, you know that we can be better together. From that moment on, Jack felt the need to set deeper foundations between them. The balance they were building was fragile, but it was palpable. A connection fortified by immediate feelings, yet in desperate need of commitment and follow-through. As he prepared for bed later that night, Jack felt complexities collide within him. Shadows of doubt alongside burgeoning hope. The road ahead remained tumultuous, filled with navigational trials. But perhaps this was how transformation began. One small step after another, however uncertain it might be. With his heart heavy yet lifted, he embraced the prospect of progress. The movement toward healing would come slowly but surely. For the sake of Mia and Lucas, he was prepared to walk this path, ready to embrace each day with open arms and an open heart, even as the risks lingered. The following days flew by, an intricate ballet of emotions and activities intertwining as they navigated the delicate push and pull of healing. Jack was committed to watching and waiting, forming a protective shield while embracing the challenges they faced together. An evolving family forged through trials, but very much alive in real time.